So I was just thinking about how religion has shaped society and me as a person. Being a Pakistani Muslim, religion is literally ingrained into my identity. So to be sort of thrust into a mindset shift of aligning with spirituality and sort of breaking out of dogmatic tradition was really daunting for me. But now that I've arrived here, I've really been looking at it from a nuanced lens, and I'm realizing that religion has to be man-made. It really does, because when you look at the rules and regulations of all of the, top 5 religions, or let's say top 3, the religions that have exerted the most control, power, violence, submission. These are all tools of mankind. An omnipresent entity, such as God, would never feel the need to exert pressure in such a way. And whether that's in the form of oh my god, my glasses are... Okay, we're just gonna have to accept the fact that my glasses are not straight. Okay, an omnipresent entity such as God would never rely on such juvenile forms of control. Religion has, I think, bastardized what God or pure consciousness really is. I 100% believe God exists, but not in the way that we've been taught. And I don't think, like a lot of spiritual people say, I don't personally believe that we are God. I think if you go deep enough into any religion, you'll start to realize that the lines between human being and God begin to blur the deeper you go into your faith. But that is not to say that human being equals God, as many spiritual people might say. That is probably one of the reasons why I don't subscribe to organized religion anymore, is the fact that a lot of organized religion leaders are insistent upon the fact that their belief exists in a morally superior bubble. And that really gets me, because if you claim that you are a follower of God, how is it that you can also claim that you are right in your belief? You don't know everything in the world. To declare that you are human is to also make the subsequent declaration that you will never know everything that exists out there, which means that you will never know if you are 100% right or not. And here we have organized religion boasting these leaders and gurus and any other form of messenger, like we have imams and we have priests and rabbis, pandits, I believe is in Hinduism. These sort of conduits of God in human form. A lot of religions will either say that, or they'll sort of treat them as such. And they will be so adamant in all of these lectures and speeches that their way is the right way. And it's weird. It's really, really weird, Because if your way was really the right way, then you wouldn't even need that platform to speak on it. When we think of the most present forces on this earth that are sort of universal, we think of pain, love, greed, and sadness, maybe. There are many synonyms for all these different sensations I've sort of described, but the main essence is that what we have seen to be universal lies in feeling and experiences. And people in organized religion are so focused in this one line of thinking where all they see as the solution to bridging unity in our world is if everyone agrees to the same concept. When the unity in our world already exists, we already are having these shared experiences all at the same time, around the clock. The unity already exists. We don't need to use any books, teachings as a way to bring mankind together and end the apocalypse or prevent the apocalypse or whatever the internal damnation prophecy that religion is preaching. A lot of those religions will say that, before end times, this group of people will unite, or this people or the non-believers will turn into believers, or the non-believers will do this and then the believers will do this, like this sort of diverging concept of group separating, of humankind separating and veering off. And while that may be true, because the core of the universe's existence is in the duality of it, what I also believe to be true is that everything that religion is searching for, whether it's the afterlife or prophetic revelations or this sort of idealistic view of worldwide unity, it already exists here on Earth already. And so I go back to those four sort of experiences I was talking about, which was, I think, pain, love, greed, and sadness. That already exists there in the fact that all of us experience these things, completely unifying the way that we live as beings. All of us need to breathe oxygen. All of us have a consciousness. We already have these semblances of unity sort of trickled throughout our time here on Earth. But organized religion has allowed for those things to become minuscule and has now deemed those things insignificant for universal agreement or universal oneness. And so the path to becoming one with the universe and one with each other becomes so eternally difficult and almost impossible. We create these barriers to connecting with each other. That's what rules and regulations do. We decide what is right and what is wrong, not leaving room for a third option. And more likely than not, that third option is that gray area that proves what we are trying to conclude here has already been concluded. Like the answers we are searching for have already been given to us, have already been shown to us. The unity we are searching, the sort of solutions we have created to getting to that unity, such as organized religion, already exists. It's sort of when people to me say like, and this is more of a self-concept thing, but like when if I had talked to myself when I was like super in my existential depressed phase, I would have said something like, oh, what's the point of anything? Like, literally, my life sucks. Like, well, why should I even look at the sky? Or, like, I don't really care about any of that stuff. Okay, yeah, you don't care about any of that stuff, but it still exists. The flowers are still blooming outside in a beautiful way, and the sky is glistening, and the birds are chirping. All that stuff is still happening, whether you would like to conclude or agree to it or not. Organized religion likes to say that, like, there must be criteria that is met before all of us can come together in unity and peace and agreement, while ignoring all of the possibilities and chances we have in bridging that gap here and now. Religion creates a path to God. And spirituality shows you that God was never a destination to reach. That's why I love it. This whole point of inquiry was kind of brought about because I do feel a little bit of animosity with my evolving mindset. Because some of the things I am now agreeing with put me on the periphery of society. And if any of you people who are intersectional in your identity, you will know that to exist in the periphery is like asking to be shot and killed, metaphorically. But in this day and age, it literally feels like you're asking to be completely ridiculed and disrespected and violently berated. Because mainstream society depends on submission and willful ignorance and miseducation. So when you find somebody who is pretty thoughtful in their demeanor and chooses that thought pattern to lead them to a conclusion that is disagreeing with the mainstream opinion, you've got somebody really dangerous on your hands. Yeah. I do want to say, though, that I find organized religion to be sort of a sweet attempt to connecting with the possibilities of our universe. I don't deny that a lot of these religions have very succinct groundwork to build on. Especially like Abrahamic religions, like there are some rules and regulations that I do agree with, like things like alcohol consumption and egoic restriction, and obviously kindness and love, and that stuff is mentioned throughout the books. But when we start practicing on an exclusionary basis, ruling out what is good, what is bad, who is good, who is bad, it starts to really paint the picture for you of what organized religion is in its name. I don't think I have any beef with religion. I think I have beef with organized religion. Because organized religion is made to be a spectacle. You must stop in your tracks and notice them. It is meant to be a movement. It is meant to convince and control the masses, and that's why I have a problem with it. I don't agree with any means of manipulating a large, or not even, let's not say manipulating, let's just say another word, of controlling the thoughts and beliefs and actions of a large group. I don't agree with that tactic. I don't agree with that framework. Now, if you are practicing religion in your own right, I think that's beautiful. Really and truly, I think that's beautiful. We live in a world of disorder, and if you can find order and also an inspiration to be a good person through whatever religion you're practicing, and you're practicing it humbly and sort of silently, I think that's wonderful. What I mean by silently is that, a lot of us have equated embracing ourselves with being loud and proud. I don't agree with that. I think to be loud and proud is to admit that you have to prove your existence to anybody else. And religion has become that, organized religion has become that spectacle, which I was saying earlier. So that's what I mean by silently. A lot of the coolest people I know who are more aligned with a sort of organized thought of religion, not organized religion, but like a sort of structured thought of religion, do it silently. They do it very privately, and I find that to be the most beautiful form of practicing religion, because at that point it is entirely for yourself and nobody else gets to know what you're doing with it and how you're doing any of it. It's entirely for yourself, and that, and on its own, is a beautiful form of selfishness. But it's also a heroic act of humility. You're not asking for any approval from anybody else except your conversations with what you consider to be the divine. Now, what was I saying about... Oh, yes. I was saying... Now, more on the fact that, I respect people who follow religion on their own terms, because I'm a big supporter of the fact that everybody will find a medium of rituals that will inevitably align them to their highest self. And that set of rituals looks different for every person. So I'm not staunch on what that ritual is for anybody, because who am I to say that one person should not be doing an X sort of practice because it's to this or to that? I'm not the person to say that, because if that practice is allowing them to be the best version of themselves, the most humble, the most kind, the most empathetic, the most forgiving, the most graceful, the most radiant and high vibrational person, who am I to say that that's wrong? It's definitely leading them to some wonderful results. So what I always like to say is everybody deserves their own channel for accessing their highest self and their highest state of consciousness. For most people, organized religion is not that, and I can see it very clearly through your actions and through your manifestation in this world. I can see it by the way you exist. But for a select group of people, religion on its own can act as that medium for getting them to their higher self. For me, that wasn't the case. It really wasn't. Despite the fact that I didn't grow up around a very extremely restrictive religious environment, it just ended up being a piggyback point for me instead of the complete path. And that leads me to my next point, which is I don't deny that religion has power, and I've kind of said that sort of scattered throughout this whole discussion, but like I can attest to the fact that religion has power in its anecdotal sort of method of getting a message across. I think we as humans know that whether we like it or not, we feel deeply. A lot of people will hide their emotions, but they're still feeling it, and sort of storytelling gets to us. And I know for me, when I was starting my spiritual journey, what got me into spirituality was this sort of narrative of the spiritual side of my religion. And it was told like a fairy tale. And that's what allowed me to become so enamored with it. It was my gateway drug, as you could say. But eventually I grew from that. I kind of moved on from using the religious background as the contextual backdrop for my understanding of the universe. I evolved, as humans are meant to evolve. And now I feel that I don't need any sort of structured religion to serve as the backdrop to the way I understand the world. The way that I see it is that if you have a force in your life that reminds you of your insignificance and keeps you humble, keeps you tethered to the values of grace, kindness, radical empathy, radical forgiveness, radical compassion, then honestly, great. I'm not going to say that I agree with it, but it's wonderful, and that is what we should all be looking for. We shouldn't be looking to make anything our God or our final destination. We should be looking for channels and mediums and conduits for us to get where we're going. A lot of people who are a part of organized religion are so intently focused on the dogmas, and you get lost in it. You begin to lose sight of what's really going on, how you're literally not here, not there, that everything that exists around us is a construct. We begin to lose everything but the 3D reality. And if you study science and spirituality together, you'll realize that the 3D reality means nothing. And that's why I don't agree with organized religion, is because it pulls you into the 3D so much so that you begin to forget that anything else exists outside of it. That nothing else exists outside of your own opinions and your own beliefs and your values, and it puts you in a bubble that you can't pop. Yeah. So that's my thought. That's my vibe. Yeah. Don't know if YouTube's gonna see this, so if this is YouTube, hi, I'm Amina, and I talk about everything under the sun regarding self-improvement, self-concept, spirituality, esoteric concepts of spirituality and religion. I really just want to get you to your highest self, and that usually takes a lot of inquiry and conversation. So let's have those conversations here. If you want to have those conversations, click the subscribe button and like this video and comment down below what you think about what we've talked about for the past 20 minutes. And if you would like to have a spiritual clarity one-on-one call with me, the link to book that is in my description. I will be actually having a course come out within the next few months about self-concept and spirituality and navigating all of that in our chaotic world. So be sure to get that when it comes out. That being said, thank you for watching. I appreciate you. And please, please, please always remember, radical empathy, radical compassion, radical forgiveness, and radical humility are the way to getting through this world. I love you, and bye.